Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dunwoody Dialogues. I am Mark Galvin, your host, and this show is produced by Discover Dunwoody. We're always glad to have you join us here on this great show. And one of the things you know, and I say this every single show, we talk to really awesome people. So if you haven't seen all the awesome people we've talked to, go check them out. So if you're on YouTube, look at the playlist. If you're anyplace else, we have so many great shows back there that you need to make sure you don't want to miss them. So go find them. We've talked to people in the film industry. We've talked to hospitality folks. We've talked to the mayor of Dunwoody. So we've got lots of great people out there. Definitely go check those folks out. So today, I am jazzed to share with you guys people from the industry, people from the hospitality industry, but they're also good friends. So if we make a quick joke or two, don't hold it against us because there's definitely going to be a few of those. So let me introduce all of you to two great friends of mine. Amanda Dyson Thornton, you are the executive director with the Georgia Association of Convention and Visitors Bureau. And folks, that's a lot to say. So with your permission, Amanda, we're going to say the GACVB from now on. Is that good?
Approve.
Awesome.
Yes.
Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And then the guy over there, we have Chris Hardman. He is you're like long title, generally cool dude with the Georgia Hotel and Lodging Association.
Just walked out.
Yeah, the cool dude just left?
Yeah. Right.
You're the cool dude in the chair.
So the cool dude's actual title is Director of Governmental Affairs and Membership at the Georgia Hotel and Lodging Association, which again, I'm going to shorten to GHLA.
No, you got to say the whole thing.
Altogether.
From now on.
I'm not going to do that. I just can't.
The Georgia Association of Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Georgia Hotel and Lodging Association. Wasn't that hard, Mark? Come on, you got this.
I've got it. I don't have to say it. You guys just did.
Hilarious. No, yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
glad both of you are here.
Happy to be here.
So we're going to focus on Amanda. You cool with that?
Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Let's focus here.
That's why people are listening.
So, Amanda, you've done a lot of things to get to where you are. I'd love for you to share with our folks, what career path did you take to get to your current role?
I love that question, Mark. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Let's start way back when I was in college, and I have a theater degree from Valdosta State University.
Theater and Valdosta State. You're destined. You're in that program to be the executive director.
Clearly.
Of the Georgia Association of Convention and Visitors Bureaus.
Also known as GACVB. No. So I have a theater degree from Valdosta State University, which is a nationally associated school of theater. And I have a stage management degree. So I love events, I love producing events, and I love people, and I love learning how people tick. So that was many moons ago, that degree. I coordinated weddings for a long time, very similar to stage management, except you have mothers of the bride versus stars of the show. Similar. Did I say brides? Yes, also brides. And so then I worked at the Georgia Dome, actually, in suites management. So I got my start in the hospitality industry at the Georgia Dome, RIP.
Wow.
And then I worked at the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau. I was lucky enough to work for Spurgeon Richardson and at the ACVB and Spurge. Yep.
Yeah.
And I worked there for 20 years before coming over to GACVB.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So Amanda worked there so many years. She's worried she's going to refer to them as we.
Right.
So not
we
have a different we now. It's the we.
We is the whole state.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
So cool.
Yes.
All right, Chris.
Mark.
Red hot spotlight on you. Haven't you always been at GHLA? For some reason, it feels like you just were born there. Is that true or
So
no?
the Georgia Hotel and Lodging Association? You
Yes.
mean? Yeah, AKA GHLA. Yeah, it's a fun gig. You get to represent the second largest private sector employer. Get to make a true difference on the 500,000 employees here in the state of Georgia. But I kind of grew up in the industry. I know we were talking about that earlier, and you wanted me to bring it up. But I grew up in politics as well as hospitality and tourism. I had a grandfather that served in Congress. The other one, the first state tourism director, followed in my father's footsteps, who headed up Southeast Tourism Society, and he did a lot of D.C. lobbying. Since you went all the way back to college, Spurge was actually one of my recommendation letters for college.
Really?
So kind of grew up, obviously a good friend of Spurgeon Richardson, a true legend in our industry. But finished with my hospitality degree at Georgia State, then went on and got my master's. Did some contract lobbying for a little bit. Then I went over to the Restaurant Association. and now I'm here at the Hotel Association. I like to say that I ate a lot
So
and I
Restaurant
drank a lot.
Association. Oh, I like that. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, I do.
At
like
the Restaurant
that.
Association. I had to sleep it off, though, at the hotel side.
That's good.
Yeah. So it's good.
I've
Great
never heard you
connections.
say that.
You haven't heard that one yet?
No,
All
that's
right.
That's good. So Restaurant Association, the Georgia Restaurant Association.
The Georgia Restaurant Association,
How long-
also known as GRA.
Thank you.
Yes.
And how long were you there?
So I was there, oh gosh,
Ish.
maybe 5 years.
Okay. All right. Same type of thing. Did
So,
the
so yeah, I was one of their
lobbyists?
contract or one of their lobbyists, registered lobbyists for GRA. So representing the restaurant industry, but all the same issues that I focused on at the restaurant side are just the same at the hotel side. Just the hotels have a lot more, given the fact that it's not only food service, but you're also
Sure.
talking about accommodations, you're talking about travel, incentives, you name it, and
so similar.
exactly.
Say it's all part of hospitality.
it's all part of
I
hospitality.
mean, truly, it's like the trifecta.
Exactly.
Really.
Yeah.
You know, GACVB, GRA, and GHLA for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
It
now
used to really be the trifecta when it was GHTA,
Yes.
the Georgia Hospitality and Travel Association. Man, way too many acronyms
That's
in
a
this
lot.
business,
That's a
right?
lot. Yes.
That was restaurants, CVBs, and hotels all combined.
And that's where I come in from. My DNA is my mom was involved in the GHTA.
My dad worked
Oh
with
my
your
goodness.
mom and
There.
was good friends with your dad. So
That's all true.
we've known each other since birth.
So
She's younger than me though.
we have a producer.
right.
We have a producer. Her name's Madison, and she does a lot of the show notes. right?
Madison's awesome.
Yeah, she's
She's the reason
over
I
there,
came.
Like, writing down all these acronyms. I got to get all these in the show notes because nobody's going to know what we're
I
talking
know.
about.
Correct.
All right, I have a Spurgeon Richardson story.
Oh, let's hear it.
I went to school with his daughter,
You did?
and he was the
Catherine?
general manager of Six Flags.
Mm-hmm.
And so, random day during the year, Catherine would say, "Hey, Coca-Cola has a corporate buyout at the park, so we all sneak in the back door and go ride all the rides." It was a cool
That
thing.
is so
That
cool.
is
So,
awesome.
we were in, I was in Spurgeon's kitchen in high school. So
Wow.
Spurgeon was everywhere.
It's like he's here with us today. I love that.
yeah,
That's
that was a
sweet.
great guy.
It's incredible.
Well, let's talk about fun stuff. Let's talk about you guys and your organizations. What's new? What's happening? We're leading into 2025. Some of you may be seeing this at early 2025. What's happening with GACVB and GHLA in 25?
That is an awesome question. I think I would answer what's new with GACVB. I am new with GACVB. I guess maybe I can't say that anymore, right? I'm
No,
at
no,
11
no.
months. Is 11 months still
Well,
new? But
You're new
You're
until a
not
year.
newbie at 11
okay,
months.
well, I still feels pretty new. But to that, I'm joking, but to that point, I think that's exciting for 2025. Like I've learned a lot in 2024. So in 2025, it's almost like I can take everything I've learned and try to apply it. I'm so lucky I'm following in the footsteps of the wonderful Jay Mark Walter, who is now at Explore Georgia. And so Jay has laid such a beautiful foundation for this organization that I am able to just literally step in his footsteps and hopefully fill them, with his vision and where he saw the organization going. So I think 2025 is going to be a fun year for GACVB. We got a lot on the radar and a lot of great partners, and re-engaging those partners is sort of the name of the game right now.
I
And
think it's awesome.
yeah, so it's going to be a good year.
Jay did a great job, and so thrilled with all the work he did. You're kicking butt in this role.
Oh,
So
thank
welcome.
you.
We're glad you're here. Truly,
Thank
your
you.
energy, especially when you sit down at a program where you're leading it, like I'm glad to be here.
Oh,
So
that's so sweet.
yeah,
Thank you.
dude. She's also my neighbor, by the way. So
That's true.
My daughter.
Babysat for my kids. Yeah.
So there's all these. This is so
But we
weird.
didn't know each other at the
We-
time. That was
actually,
very random.
Well,
yeah.
we did, but yeah.
Yeah, but it was, I met on the Facebook page.
You'll probably have to cut that part. All right, let's go to Chris. Chris, what's going on new with GHLA in 2025?
Oh gosh. Well, what's going on new right now, or
Yeah.
what's going on in 2025? Because there's a lot that's happening right now.
You pick.
Well, all right.
Dealer's
So
choice.
I think we should probably start with what happened a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Did you know there was an election?
There was an election. That was like what, a Tuesday in November? or
It was a Tuesday in November. It was a pretty strong election,
Yeah.
especially here in Georgia. I don't know if you know this, but
I heard the turnout was record-breaking.
it was.
Yeah.
It was. And Donald Trump won.
Yes.
Did you know that?
I don't think
Have you
there's
heard
a
that
soul
yet?
in America that doesn't know.
So just in case, I've had to give a lot of election updates recently.
there we
I
go.
always want to make
Is
sure
that how you
people know. So but talking about the turnout, I think the turnout's something that we need to know now, know in 2025 and leading into 2026. Because if you go back to 2020, there was 4.9 million people that came out and voted. Donald Trump at the time, former President Donald Trump, now President-elect Donald Trump, in 2020 lost by 12,000 votes, I believe it was. Yeah. Go to 2022 in the gubernatorial election. There was 4.4 million people that came out and voted. Brian Kemp won by 300,000 votes. It's incredible. At the same time, we lost the GOP lost the Senate race. That's when Herschel Walker was going up against Senator Raphael Warnock. Go back to 2022, and this year, 5.2 million Georgians came out to vote, and Donald Trump won by about 112,000 votes. And I bring that up because it really shows Governor Kemp's popularity here in the state of Georgia. And what just happened this week is Governor Kemp was elected chair at the Republican Governors Association. Right. That's an incredible feat, and it shows his popularity nationwide. And that might give a little bit of a hint 4 years from now on what Governor Kemp's forecast is in politics, possibly a potential presidential election.
So how does that impact us in 25, right? Between a new president and his policies, what does that do to hoteliers? What can hoteliers expect in 25?
I think you're going to see a few things on the national scale. We'll go back to some state legislation, I'm sure, a little later from what you told me. But on a national scale, we're already seeing a few positives coming out of it. But we're also looking towards some of the negatives that could come. Okay. Right now, on the positive side, one of the biggest issues of the year was the DOL's, the Department of Labor's overtime ruling. That would have increased the overtime threshold from roughly 34,000 to 64,000 effective January 1st. Okay, what does that mean? Already increased 43,000 on July 1st.
So what is that? What are those numbers?
So that overtime threshold is if you are a non-exempt employee, if you're currently on a salary, and if you make over $34,000, you would have to be paid overtime, or time and a half, right? Okay. Here in the state of Georgia. Now, what happened was we realized that would have cost a ton of money, and it would have put a lot of hoteliers out of business, and restaurants too. And we also understand that employees, they want to be on a salary level. They don't want to be put back onto an hourly level, because it's employee morale is more important to our industry than just about anything else.
It hurts the employees and the businesses.
So what we did, along with several other national organizations as well as business associations, we joined in to a lawsuit with the state of Texas, a lawsuit against the Department of Labor's ruling. Well, just this past Friday, I believe, which I don't know when this is going to be aired, but about 5 days ago, the court ruled in favor of us, and they got rid of all three components to the Department of Labor's overtime ruling, which means as of right now, it's not going to be going into effect. Technically speaking, and this is where I say the good news comes in, technically speaking, the Department of Labor has 60 days to appeal that ruling. Now, that being said, I don't anticipate anything happening because of the new administration.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're looking at, we're at the end of November now.
Exactly.
So how are you going to get that done before the new?
You can't, because if you do, you could technically file for an emergency appeal, try to make it as quickly as possible, but at the same time, it'll just be overturned, most likely, from all the conversations I've had in D.C. So that's one of the positives right there. You look at the Tax Cut and Jobs Act, being able to renew all those provisions back into it, that truly helped our industry survive one of the worst things to ever happen to us economically, which was the pandemic. Those provisions, I'm hopeful that Congress will come together and vote to renew all those provisions. But then you look at some of the hurdles that we're going to face. Something we've been lobbying for in D.C. quite a bit over the past couple of years is increasing the H-2B visas, so that we can get the labor force that we need to be able to operate our restaurants, hotels, and travel attraction as effectively and efficiently as possible. We're going to struggle to get that cap raised. We're going to struggle on the visa waivers and the travel vouchers. When it comes to anything immigration or international travel related, I think that's where we're gonna have to fight hard to be able to maintain the same success that we've had over the past 4 years.
Yeah. So my history is hospitality. I spent almost 26 years in the hospitality business, and I was an executive housekeeper at 2 different hotels. And we needed people that were, and most of them were Spanish speaking, to clean hotel rooms. And so that is a workforce that we need them to have visas. We need them to be here legally, and we need them to help, because I can tell you right now, I couldn't have cleaned my rooms without them.
Oh, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So plus the J1s, the seasonal employees, I mean, that's essential for our coastal regions here in the state of Georgia.
Yeah.
We rely on seasonal employees, and it's
Sure.
impossible to get.
So important.
Great.
So let's talk about industry challenges. We're kind of hitting some of that now. This is a great little transition point. What is it that Georgia tourism and at the GACVB level, you see this, what are those sectors in Georgia really facing as headwinds right now that going into next year we need to be aware of, or maybe we need to be addressing them?
I think the biggest fight that we fight, or the loudest song that we sing, is that tourism is economic development. And we are the second largest economic development in the state of Georgia. And we have got to keep singing that loudly.
So important. And it's easy not to count everybody
Correct.
in hospitality, because there's so many levels. When you guys look at the landscape, who counts into that hospitality bubble? What jobs?
I mean, you name it. It's almost easier to say which jobs don't, to be honest with
exactly.
you. I mean, so many. So obviously we start with hotels, right? The visitors have to come, but let's go beyond that. You get people here, car rentals, right? The airplanes. Where do they stay? What do they do when they're here? Where do they eat? Where do they shop? Where do they get their bottled water?
Where do they wash their sheets?
Correct.
Right?
Yes, on the industry level, for sure. Yeah,
we had.
it's a huge bubble.
Back to housekeeping, we sent all our sheets out, and it was cleaned
Yeah.
by a facility
Yes.
off-site, and it had to be staffed.
Yes.
And they only cleaned hotel
Yes, the
linens.
whole industry is based on that, right?
Wow. Does next year look like it's going to be a good year economically for hotels?
So, Mark, I have an awesome mentor. His name is William Pate. I don't know if you've heard of him with ACVB.
He's at the old we.
He's at the old we, but he's wonderful. And I love what he says all the time, which is we're in the good news business. And
Yeah.
so, yes, 2025 is going to be a great year. And
All
it's
right.
going to be a great year, I think, because we're going to be enthusiastic about it, and we're going to be positive about it. And even the cons that you were just mentioning, some of the opportunities that we have for 2025, I think we've got a great team in place. The election is, we're going to make this happen, and we're going to make 2025 a great year. So, there's a word that starts with the letter R that people keep throwing around, that sometimes the travel industry is the leading indicator of a recession.
Oh, I was going to say, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
I'm sorry.
Rounding.
You're thinking,
roll up.
I know I'm not supposed to say it, so just maybe we can take that part out. It
That
starts
R
with
word.
the R word.
It's okay. You
But
can't say the C word anymore. COVID.
Yeah,
Correct myself.
but we try not to say the R word. But
Well,
it's I mean, and tourism and hospitality is usually a leading indicator.
It is.
Yeah,
And
Okay.
so there are those leading indicators out there. But again, we are in the good news business, and we've got a plan in place for it. I think we're not going to be surprised by it,
Good.
and people's budget will reflect that, and people are taking the appropriate actions to sort of skirt around it or push through it, maybe is a better way to say it.
I think the economics are really interesting to watch right now, because we're on the back end of all this inflationary period. In Atlanta, we're hosting the college football championship, right? So 2025 is going to kick off really well for at least this region.
Right.
So that's good. Anything you want to add for headwinds and maybe 2025 that we need
Amanda
to be
did
ready
such a
for?
phenomenal job. I mean,
Yeah.
we're in the good news business. So
We
that
are.
is such a William quote. Oh
It
my
is.
gosh!
I love
But
it.
yeah, oh yeah. No, I think to your point, it's going to be a great year. We're going to do amazing.
Good.
I mean, forecasters, as you just mentioned, forecasters for the state of Georgia, from what I've probably been to 15, 20 over the past month, everything averages out to us remaining flat or just a little bit up, which is a good thing,
Good.
with a booming year in 2026. I think
So you actually think 26 is going to be
even better.
Okay.
And that's from what I've seen from the people smarter than me.
Yeah.
Well, you're smarter than me too, so it comes from
We're
you
at those
too. But
same
you know
meetings
those
with people smarter
economists
than
out
us,
there.
yes.
Okay, you're both smart.
So, but I think one of the reasons is we have such a strong and beneficial regulatory environment that we've worked on tirelessly over the past 5-10 years.
good.
For our industry specifically, and you compare us to any other state out there, I think we have a stronger and better and more productive regulatory environment because of the policies that we put into place. And that all starts with the legislative process here in Georgia. Just to give you an example of that, The city of New York just passed a piece of legislation that will most likely put 20 to 30% of hotels completely out of business.
No way.
I mean, they're pretty much outlawing the ability to use third-party employees. So think about
my goodness.
housekeeping staff.
Yeah, I was going to say, I experienced that directly.
Exactly. Think about housekeeping staff. Make it almost illegal for there to be ownership groups or REITs out there.
Oh, wow.
Limit the ability to have independent contractors. So you're forced to employ everyone yourself when there aren't employees out there to be able to get that want to come into hospitality at the time. So that happened in New York. Something similar almost happened in Glendale, Arizona. But luckily we were able to get in front of it early on. I co-chair a board of directors, the American Hospitality Alliance, and we go out and we fight local and statewide issues that could be detrimental to our industry, that could have a ripple effect in our industry
So
going to
glad
other
you're doing
states.
this.
In Glendale, they try to drop the same thing, except they put it on a ballot referendum. And we are so happy that the voters were smart enough to vote that down by about a 60% margin. So
Oh, that's great news.
we don't have to worry about that here in the state of Georgia because we were the first state in the nation to pass, I believe it was Senate Bill 331 a couple of years ago, that preempts local governments from doing anything like that, whether it's predictive
Wow.
scheduling, employee hours, workplace mandates. And it goes all the way back to 10 years ago, where at the time, Majority Leader Chip Rogers introduced legislation to prohibit local governments from raising the minimum wage above the state's minimum wage. And I think those regulatory pieces, keeping us a business-friendly state and the number one state to do business, that's going to help us out from now, currently, and into the future.
That's
which
so
is why
great.
we're going to do better than everyone
good.
else.
I got two thoughts about what you said. Third-party employment agencies is really how every major hotel that has a banquet department staffs their banquets, because banquet servers cannot, in most cases, cannot work at only one hotel, get full-time work. So they all work at third-party agencies, and they work at all the hotels. And so I can't imagine, if I was a banquet manager, I would be dying thinking about this in New York. There's something else about 2025 that is extremely important and we didn't talk about, and it's the film and entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. In Georgia, it is extremely important to our state economy, quite frankly. And we've seen it really retract over the last couple of years due to strikes and some other things. It's supposed to come back big next year, so that's going to be big. Something else is interesting is Dunwoody has done extremely well. We have seen tremendous growth over the last 2 years in Dunwoody. We get third-party data, back to that third-party word, third-party data that shows that and shows how we compare to the rest of the state. So we're seeing such an economic boom in our hotels. In fact, we just opened a new one. We got such great demand, we thought, heck, let's add another hotel to our mix. So things are great in Dunwoody. We're looking forward to that because our forecast shows that we're expecting to grow next year, and I can't wait to see it even grow more in 26. So our executive director is just off camera. He's starting to think, gosh, we're going to need another hotel for all this new demand. So
Look at
we'll see
Ray and
what
how
he's gonna-
relaxed he is.
That's right. He is.
I mean,
Ray's having a
sitting
good
there
time right off
chilling,
camera,
like,
isn't he?
Oh yeah.
All right. I'm checking the time. I want to get into this question. How do you two collaborate? Because there's so much crossover, right? Do you guys ever bump into each other? Or is the collaborative...
Oh yeah. We just met right before this.
What's
Yeah, what's your name?
I have him on speed dial. I mean, honestly, I do. We collaborate on almost everything.
Everything.
Chris sits on the GACVB board because to your point, Mark, there's such a huge overlap.
Sure.
We are the Association of the Convention and Visitors Bureaus, and we are funded by hotel motel tax. So
Hello.
we need hotels
To be successful.
to be successful.
Sure.
And we need CVBs to be successful so we can put more heads in beds. Butts
Sure.
in streets, fans in stands.
Boom.
Look,
Feet on streets.
keep going. No, I'm just kidding. Hold on. This is good.
Trying to take one from you, right?
That's relevant.
That's something William Pate would say too.
I love this. So we've talked a lot about legislative stuff, national things, right? What are you looking at the legislative session in Georgia that's coming up in 25 that you're really going to be focused on as a lobbyist? And I think don't you have a cot in the state capitol?
Oh, pretty much. I mean,
Yeah.
we live
hammock,
there.
right?
Yeah, I know, right?
So, for some people, they may not know this. Explain what the legislative session means And then, that's a quick thing. And then share
Oh,
what,
wait, that's a quick thing?
isn't it?
Oh, my
Right?
gosh.
It's, don't they just, I just hear they just come in and they eat sandwiches and drink every night.
I would not say that on this camera right now. You want to cut that? No, it's the legislative process in Georgia is a very tricky process. You never know what's going to happen. You never know what bill is going to be up in committee. You never know what idea is going to materialize into law. Golly, this would take forever, and there's only 5 minutes left.
So let's not do that.
There's 40 days.
40 days.
40 legislative days.
And they determine their 40 days, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
So the way we look at it, it starts the one thing that we know, it starts the second Monday in January.
Second Monday in January, okay.
And we always have a good idea that it's going to get out before the Masters. But they have to make up 40 legislative days between the second Monday in January, and I like to say, before the Masters.
So what happens 1 week before the Masters?
So the last day of the
No.
Oh, wait, okay.
What happens?
There
before
might
the
be
Masters.
another little tournament going on.
Final Four. Always
Just
1
a
week
small
before
little
the Masters.
tournament.
I don't know if Final Four sets their date based on the Masters or the Masters sets their date on Final Four. But anyway,
It was the Final Four on
the
the Masters. I mean, it's, yeah. So
it's interesting. So they typically finish before the Masters. And then what legislative, and there's a lot, and I've sat in a meeting with Chris before and heard about all the things, and sometimes that takes 30 minutes alone. What are the key, top 3, top 4 things that you're going to be focused on this year?
So yeah, golly, talking about the top 3, top 4 will take forever. I teach a master's class, right, for part of Georgia State's MBA program, and I have a 5-hour-long class.
Oh my gosh!
Right, and I would spend the entire 5 hours talking about legislation. So it could take a long time to talk about some of the issues that we run into at the Capitol. But let's talk about what we're going to be working towards next year. I think we have to look back at what we've done. One of the biggest bills, if not by far the biggest piece of legislation, at least what has the largest economic impact on the hospitality and tourism industry since any bill that's passed since John Blackman created the hotel motel tax law back in the early 70s. Is House Bill 317. That's the legislation that requires short-term rental platforms to collect and remit the hotel motel tax on behalf of their hosts. We were the first state to actually put that burden on the platforms, and every other state is trying to do it. Now, that has generated roughly $150 million in additional tax revenue each and every year.
Say that number one more time.
$150 million. 150.
Wow.
Now, we need to protect.
So we were the first state to do this.
Oh, yeah.
And
We
the first one
like
that
to be the
said
first for everything.
You need to
Good.
pay the hotel tax on your Airbnb.
And the platforms need to be held responsible because you're not going to go after the tens of thousands of various
it's too laborious. You can't
residential home owners.
Yeah.
It's way too laborious. That's a good word too. I like that.
Man.
Laborious.
Hey, listen,
I feel like
you
I'm going
can
to be in
check
a
me out anytime.
laboratory. Yeah. All right. It's way too tough. It's way too expensive, and local governments don't have the ability to go out and truly impose that type of regulation on each and every homeowner. So that's why the burden needs to be on the platform.
Okay.
But all too often, we've seen these platforms try to hide behind the Communications Decency Act and Section 230, basically, which means they're trying to say that we don't have to tell you who we're marketing on our platforms. And that's illegal based off this piece of legislation. So we need to put some additional guardrails around House Bill 317 so we can make sure our CVBs get the appropriate funds that they need to market the hotels in their respective destinations. You're going to ask
I think
something.
that's good. And yes. So are you saying right now that municipalities that are supposed to be collecting this tax, they don't know where the Airbnbs are?
Oftentimes, it is hard to find out exactly where the Airbnbs are without contracting out with a very expensive firm to go out and actually find them.
Okay.
The platform should be the ones responsible for being fully audited and letting them know, hey, these are the homes that we're marketing right now, and if they're marketing somewhere that is not currently paying the hotel motel tax, they need to be the platforms need to be held responsible for the collection and remittance of that tax. So that's one of the bigger ones that we're all going to be working on. Whether or not this session, I also should have brought this up before. This is the start of a 2-year legislative session. So anything that is introduced this year and doesn't pass this year will be up it's still up, still alive, and still up for a vote in the following year.
So it's kind of like a 2-year cycle?
It is a 2-year cycle.
Okay.
So we all are also going to be trying to pass legislation that we dropped last year as it relates to human trafficking prevention.
Oh.
That's something that is of paramount importance to our industry, to us personally, all of us personally, because we do not want that evil anywhere in our state.
No.
But we're trying to put a mandate on our own industry, on our businesses, so that every single hotel employee that is guest facing is trained in human trafficking prevention.
So important.
As well as the platforms being held responsible for short-term rentals being trained in human trafficking prevention.
Oh, that is
a big
great.
one.
There's so much there. Chris, this is amazing. All of the information that you guys do, all the legislative stuff that you manage at GHLA, arguing on behalf of us at Discover Dunwoody and the old we at the Atlanta Convention and Visitors Bureau, super cool. We love that you're out there fighting for us. We've run out of time, and I knew this was going to happen, right? I told them before, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could talk to you guys for hours. So, and you have to catch a plane.
I do.
So we're going to
I'm
wrap
going to
here.
travel.
Tell everybody, and we'll start with you, Amanda, how can people find out more information about you and GACVB?
Awesome. They can go to GACVB.com.
That's
That easy.
All
Yep.
right.
So, Mark,
Chris?
what's your personal cell?
My personal cell is, what is Ray's number? No.
So, similar to GACVB, mine is GHLA.net. Please go to GHLA.net and don't be afraid to call Ray or Mark directly.
Easy enough. And you know what? If you want to find us, just go to our website, discoverdunwoody.com, and all of our information is right on our website. How about that?
That's awesome.
Discoverdunwoody.com. I love that both of you were here. This was so much fun.
Thank you, Mark.
She's not going on a plane. We're not going to let her go to the airport. We're going to go have a nice early dinner and maybe have a cocktail or two. But seriously, thanks for both of you for being here.
Thank
Good to
you.
see both of you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you for joining us as well. I'm Mark Galvin, and we are going to wrap up this show for today. This show was produced by, today we have a lone producer. Madison Holtz is managing our video and our sound today, and we love all the work that Madison does. We also want all of you to remember, don't forget to go out and get your Dunwoody sticker. So we have these all over the city. You can get them at the library. You can go to City Hall. You can go to Barn. You can go to Art Coffee House. Again, any place. And if you would like these, if you're a business in Dunwoody, you'd like to hand these out, come see us. We would be happy to give you a stack of those. Once again, thanks for tuning in. You can find out more about Discover Dunwoody at any of our social media sites. Discover Dunwoody is our handle everywhere you go. And don't forget, you can always go to our website, discoverdunwoody.com. So, Amanda and Chris, thanks again for being with us. Good to see both of you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. Now, go out and enjoy the wonderful weather and discover Dunwoody.